Hello and welcome to this A1 Beginner Lesson 39 with me, Kate. Today we're going to be looking at questions with was and were. Before we start, let's look at some new vocabulary. Listen and repeat. Farm, farm, farmer, farmer, born, born, old people's home, old people's home, comfortable, comfortable, ill, ill, died, died, bad, bad, difficult, difficult, hungry, hungry, better, better, bedroom, bedroom, childhood, childhood, an only child, an only child. Let's find out some information about this gentleman. His name is Toru Mitsui. Here is a paragraph I'm going to read. I want you to listen and follow. So, Toru Mitsui was 100 in 2020. He was born in a small village near Hiroshima in Japan. His parents were poor farmers. Today, he lives with his son Seiji, who is 76. Now, let's find out about this lady. Her name is Estelle Dupont. Here is a paragraph. I'm going to read it, listen and follow. Estelle Dupont was also 100 in 2020. She was born near Bordeaux in France, where her father was a rich businessman. Today, she lives in an old people's home in Paris. Okay, so first question. Which countries are they from? Which countries are they from? Which country is Toru Mitsui from? He's from Japan. Which country is Estelle Dupont from? She's from France. Next question. Where were they born? Where were they born? Where was Toru Mitsui born? He was born in a small village near Hiroshima in Japan. Where was Estelle Dupont born? She was born near Bordeaux in France. How old were they in 2020? How old were they in 2020? They were both 100. Were their families rich or poor? Were their families rich or poor? Was Toru Mitsui's family rich or poor? His family was poor. Was Estelle Dupont's family rich or poor? Her family was rich. Well done. Let's find out a bit more about Toru Mitsui. Here is a paragraph I'm going to read. I want you to listen and follow. Here we go. Things were very different then. We were poor and life was very difficult. Sometimes there wasn't much food and sometimes we were hungry. There was no school in the village. We worked on the farm. There were 11 children in our family. My younger brother, John, was my best friend. But when he was 7, he died. I was very sad. Our house was very small. There were 6 boys in 1 bedroom. But it's funny, we were usually happy. My childhood was a happy time in my life. Okay, first question. What was his father's job? What was his father's job? His father was a farmer. Where was his home? Where was his home? In a small village near Hiroshima. Was his house small? Was his house small? Yes, it was. How many children were there in the family? How many children were there in the family? There were 11 children. Was he happy? Was he happy? Yes, he was. Okay, here we have some questions using was and were. Let's have a look at those in a bit more detail. Here we have the questions. Some of them start with a question word. Then we use the verb to be in the past form, and then the subject. So for each question, I want you to think, what is the missing word? Let's look at this one. What's the full question? What was his father's job? What was his father's job? This is an open question because the answer is his father was a farmer. Let's look at the next one. Where was his home? Where was his home? Again, this is an open question because the answer is his home was in a small village near Hiroshima. And let's look at these questions. Was his house small? Was his house small? This is a closed question because there is no question word, and the answer is either yes or no. So, was his house small? Yes, it was. What about this question? Was he happy? Was he happy? Again, this is a closed question because there is no question word, and the answer is either yes or no. So, was he happy? Yes, he was. So you can see we're asking questions using the past form of to be because we're asking about this gentleman's past life. With the subjects I, he, she, and it, we use was. Well done. Okay, let's find out a bit more about Estelle Dupont. Here is a paragraph I'm going to read. I want you to listen and follow. Here we go. My parents were rich. My father was a businessman, and we lived in a chateau about 10 kilometers from Bordeaux. Our home was very comfortable. The house was very big. There were 20 bedrooms, beautiful gardens, and lots of servants. But my childhood wasn't happy. I was an only child, and my mother was always ill. She died when I was 8, and my father died 2 years later when I was 10. It was a very bad time. I was a very unhappy child. Life is better now. Okay, so were her parents rich? Were her parents rich? Yes, they were. Where were they from? Where were they from? Well, they lived in a chateau about 10 kilometers from Bordeaux. Was her house small? Was her house small? No, it wasn't. It was a big house. Was she happy? Was she happy? No, she wasn't. Okay, let's have a look at these questions in a bit more detail. Again, you can see our form. We start with the question word for open questions. Then we use the verb to be, sometimes on its own if it's a closed question, and then the subject. These are questions about the past, so we use the past form of the verb to be. Let's look at this question. Can you complete it? Were her parents rich? Were her parents rich? This is a closed question because there's no question word and the answer is either yes or no. So were her parents rich? Yes, they were. Next one. Where were they from? Where were they from? This is an open question because the answer isn't just yes or no, it's a bit longer than that. So they were from a small village near Bordeaux. Next question. Was her house small? Was her house small? This is a closed question because the answer is either yes or no. So was her house small? No, it wasn't. Next one. Was she happy? Was she happy? Again, this is a closed question because the answer is either yes or no. So was she happy? No, she wasn't. Okay, so you can see here that we're using was, and we use was for I, he, she, and it. We use were for our plural subjects. So you, we, and they. So were her parents rich? Where were they from? And you can see the answers, yes, they were. If I change this question, perhaps to were her parents poor? What would the response be? It's still a closed question because the answer is yes or no. Can you give me the answer? Were her parents poor? No, they weren't. Okay, now it's your turn to have a practice. I want you to put together some questions using the prompts that I'm going to show you. So first of all, I want you to think back when you were 8 years old. Can you make some questions using these prompts? So when you were 8 years old, were you tall or short for your age? When you were 8 years old, were you a quiet child or a noisy child? Okay, well done. Let's have a look at the next ones. So I want you to think back to when you were at school. So were you happy at school? When you were at school, were you naughty? When you were at school, were you good at maths? Okay, one more practice. Let's have a look at this one. Favorites. Can you put together a couple of questions based on these prompts? So, what was your favorite game? What was your favorite book or film? Brilliant. Well done. Okay, that's it for today. I have some questions for you. When you were 8 years old, were you tall or short for your age? Were you happy at school? What was your favorite game? Please leave your answers in English in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and show your support. It's much appreciated. And coming next in lesson 40, we'll be looking at years and ages. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.